It is the coldest, it is the wildest, it is the most hostile continent on Earth, but our next guest is going there anyway. He's Ben Saunders. He's planning to retrace the steps of Scott off the Antarctic 100 years after the journey was first attempted, and we should point out, not succeeded because he didn't get back, really. It's a tremendous honour, it's a tremendous task, but it must be very daunting.
It is, yes. It's a very long walk, and I think that's just starting to sink in. Now we've announced that it's happening. It's been 10 years really in the planning, in the making of the journey, and I think one of the reasons it hasn't been done is it's just an enormous. The scale of it is colossal. It's 1,800 miles, the return journey that Scott and his men died attempting, and no one's even tried it since. I think that there is a sort of misconception that it's all been done nowadays in polar exploration, and actually that's not the case at all. So this is a genuinely unfinished, world first.
Well,
journey.
it's one of my favourite films, I have to say. John Mills in it, and but it's very depressing. It's very sad. Surely, if you watch the film, it's enough to make you think, no, let's not bother.
It is, in many ways, it's a deeply sad, very tragic, very poignant story. But to me, I didn't want to dwell too much on that side of things. I think people often overlook what Scott did achieve. The expedition had an enormous scientific legacy, and in terms of sheer human endeavour, what they pulled off was incredible. They covered nearly 1,600 miles. No one's, they set the bar so high that no one's walked further than that.
Well, he had a race as well, which you don't have. You won't be racing anyone. So will you be doing the science bit?
We will be, yes. We're re-recording Scott's meteorological readings, so we're taking twice daily weather readings. And because no one's repeated this journey in the century, in the 101 years since, there's a chance.
You're playing Isabel's song here. Her ears just pricked up.
When are you going? When are you setting off?
October, mid-October, which is Antarctic, the Antarctic spring, early spring.
Why are you going?
I wish I had a pithy one-liner. We're not exploring in the old-fashioned sense. We're not naming mountains or drawing maps. That's all been done really. So in some ways, I'm more of an athlete than an explorer. So this is about exploring human limits as much as this geographical ones.
You're just trying to beat it, aren't you?
Just a challenge. It's a journey that's intrigued me and inspired me.
But what decides who gets on the team? In Scott's time, part of it was, yes, they had to pick the best people, but also people paid their passage. He had to accept money from people, in other words, to fund the expedition.
Well, there hasn't been much bribery yet, but you never know. After this morning, who knows? I may start getting offers. But there are only two of us. My teammate's called Taka Lepinier, and he sounds more French than he is. He's half French, half English. Great friend of mine. Very experienced.
Will you still be friends at the end of all of this?
I hope so. The early signs are good. We've just got back from Greenland. We were cooped up in a tent for a fortnight and got on very well. So he's a very dependable, very steady character.
And what do you think the hardest bit will be of this then? I mean, I just look at things like temperatures of -50. That
Charlotte doesn't do
bear
cold.
the thought of it.
Doesn't do cold.
What's going to be the hardest part? Do you think?
In some ways. And I'll probably look back and regret ever saying this, but in some ways the hardest bit almost feels like it's over. It's taken 10 years just to get to the point where we're in the starting block. We have fantastic support now from Intel and Lander, our two captains.
But you see this training that you have to do, weight is all important.
Yeah.
To what extent do you go to actually minimise what you're carrying?
I get pretty obsessive about saving weight. Obviously, we're wearing harnesses, dragging sledges, pulling everything we need for nearly 4 months. So, and the sledges are pretty heavy. Most of it's food.
How obsessive do you get with what you cut out?
I've cut the labels out of clothes before. I've cut the handle off my toothbrush.
Really is
handle on your toothbrush?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did. My first big expedition was in 2001, and I left my toothpaste behind in Siberia, which is our start point, thinking that my teammate Penn Haddo, who would take some as well. He did the same thing. He thought, well, he'd borrow mine, so we had no toothpaste for 2 months.
This is brilliant. See, when we go on holiday, I'm now going, says Mrs. Holmes cuts all the labels off those clothes and her toothbrush in half.
I don't recommend no toothpaste. Well, you should come back and speak to us afterwards and tell us whether it was the planning that was the hardest bit or whether it was actually the expedition.
I'd love that.
Ben, good luck to you. Great sense of adventure and every success in what you plan to do. Isabel, we don't want to talk about snow now, no?
Anything's going to be warm in comparison.
Oh, well, it is. And you know what? We've got nothing exciting to talk about because it's just high pressure. It's just calm and settled and fine.